I'm 42. I'm older than you, and I do jujitsu. And I'm a
Mhm.
jujitsu hobbyist. Okay. I actually do not want to get big and massive, but I'm coming from a performance standpoint.
You want to work, you want to get stuff
Mm.
done, you want to better your situation because you feel like you can. You don't always have that when you're on low testosterone.
Eddie, thank you for joining me on this interview. I have a ton of questions, and you're the only guy I know that's done it, and you've tested this stuff, and so I trust you, and I've seen you do it. So help me out here. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm going to start with what I know. I know you were an amateur bodybuilder, you work in nursing, and you consult high-end people, clients in fitness, health, and nutrition. Correct any of that if it's wrong.
Yeah, in a nutshell, that's basically it. Yeah. Amateur bodybuilder is being very kind. I did one or two shows and I just cared about more of the chemistry and the science behind it than the actual posing on stage. So definitely was a short-lived stage career, but uh, will be doing bodybuilding type things the rest of my life.
I saw you as a chubby fat kid that got into a huge monster, like a
Does your audience know that I'm your brother, or are
you.
we
Oh no, no, but
okay?
you're my brother, so that's
Yeah.
even even more trust you can say.
Mm.
But is that not true? You went from no fitness, chubby to massive.
I went from a healthy kid growing up and definitely pre-diabetic going into middle school, I believe, which is very common in Hispanic cultures to be close to or already diabetic. And yes, I did reach, I don't know, 4% body fat, 6%, depending on what you used and what you believe on the calipers or on the DEXA scan on stage.
And what made you want to go into amateur bodybuilding? Because you were seriously uh, following it. Like that was a big deal. Like you one, you did it. Two, you did it right, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Uh, I mean, any fat kid's dream is to be in shape and to take off his shirt and not worry about it. So maybe it's the extreme version of that, but there was definitely um, a desire to get to that point. And I just saw bodybuilding as guys that consistently got in shape, got lean, and built muscle every year. So I wanted to learn from them. Um, so that was the main driver. More than that, none of my brothers, none of my family members were jacked or lean. So I did kind of want to learn that and share with everybody else after. So that was a big driving factor.
And I'm going to ask this, and I don't know if you want to answer or not, but uh, uh, did you get that big naturally, or did you have some help?
Definitely had some help. Genetically, if you look, we're six boys, and genetically, everyone averages around 160 pounds. So I'm 200 pounds walking around normally. So I definitely had help. Definitely, I trained and I did cardio and I lifted, but definitely took testosterone and other fun, naughty drugs early. Maybe too early for some people, but I was my own guinea pig from the beginning, and I'm a big fan of exploring whatever you want to explore, no matter the consequences, as long as you're okay with what happens at the end.
And that's why you're here. That's why I'm interviewing you. So, okay. And also, do you take anything now?
Yeah, I'd say, well, currently, because we are trying to have another child, which is another thing that everyone should
Hmm,
consider before
good
they
point.
start this journey, is there's always consequences to whatever you do. So I am taking currently testosterone, which is once a week, 80 milligrams, which I actually get from a quality source now. And it wasn't such a quality source when I first started, but and I am taking HCG to let my natural testosterone come back in order to have children.
Now, I know nothing about it, so that's all a different language to me. So you're definitely the expert here. Um, okay, so you said you took, now is it different what you're taking now versus what you used to take to get really big? Because I understand not all testosterone is the same.
what's your understanding? If you I say steroids, what does that mean to you?
Um, well, to me, up until recently, it was okay. Let me back up. Uh, I'm coming from the perspective that I'm 42. I'm older than you, and I do jujitsu, and I'm a
Mhm.
jujitsu hobbyist. Okay, I actually do not want to get big and massive, but I'm coming from a performance standpoint, and this interview is kind of leaning towards over 40 athletes because I'm noticing there's a big group, older males, that have their midlife crisis and they want to go to like sports or weightlifting or jujitsu. So we're going to lean into that perspective. But up until recently, I thought it was all the same stuff. If I wanted to get big or if I wanted performance, it's all, it's all testosterone.
Yeah.
That's
You
probably
mean what
wrong.
Arnold was taking? Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Please correct
Yeah.
me.
Makes sense. Okay. Well, I've been very pro steroids since I started. It has more weight to it now because of what I've accomplished and become a nurse. But you everyone has testosterone, right? Everyone has it in the beginning. Obviously, it starts dropping after you're 25, 30 years old. So the first thing is to do is to understand where you're at. So you get lab work. Full discrepancy or full transparency, I did not get lab work when I first started. I had a buddy that got a source, and we started from there. We took what was cool at the time, which is testosterone and trenbolone and certain things. But now, coming from the nurse perspective, and if anybody's listening that wants to get started, I would say first you have to get lab work, kind of see where you're at, check under the hood, and then after that, there's so many telehealth companies now. I use Merrick Health, but not sponsored by them, but there's different companies and even doctors are getting more educated about it now that they're willing to even talk to the people about testosterone. And that's when you have the conversation, not just what people have done and what I have done before, which is like, I got a buddy, just give me what I can afford at the time. I wasn't even in college yet. And let me get going.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, don't go the bro science way. Go get checked out by a professional. See where you're at before you self-diagnose.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Do as I say, not as I did, right? Because I got lucky where I didn't get hurt, maybe because I was early or maybe because I was young and didn't take enough. But it's definitely, I've seen lots of guys, one, not be able to have kids, which is something that you maybe not think of in your 20s, but you definitely think of in your 30s. Two, health issues, the biggest being kidney, cardiovascular, liver is the big one because people do get in shape, drink, and don't stop any other drugs that they might be taking as well. And then just mentally, there's a big factor with certain one that I would never take now, and there's neurotoxicity that occurs, and people get depressed or super angry, and it could spiral down to ruining your life. So definitely, if I knew the things now, I want to say I wouldn't take them, but I probably would have. Didn't care. I wanted to get jacked, wanted to get lean, but definitely need to know about them before you start.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, would you do them knowing what you know? Because for me, it's a no. But like a lot of, especially in jiu-jitsu, a lot of the champions, the top dogs, they're all a majority of them are taking them, and they're very vocal about it. Like they pretend to hide it at first, but then they eventually come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Craig Jones, for example, he went to Tijuana, bought a bunch of stuff. It wasn't even completely safe or legit or authentic. And he had some reactions before a competition. So the very do-it-yourself, self-diagnosis, DIY, even in the pro athletes, you see it. And is there any symptom that actually scares you that you're like, wow, that one is the one. Like for me, organ damaging my organs for sure.
Yeah,
Like, is there any of the side effects that scares you the most?
I think anytime you mess with the brain, the fact
Hmm.
that you could do something that you wouldn't have done otherwise if you weren't taking this stuff definitely scares me. especially because it could be so short term. You could be taking stuff within 2, 3 weeks. Your brain could start thinking differently or acting differently. All the other stuff, you're fair game, right? Organ failure. There's minimal side effects that you could do depending on dosages, but not everyone goes to safe dosage in the beginning, especially if they don't know what they're doing, and especially if you start getting the results of some of these drugs deliver, because they do work. Like they work and they get addicting, and so sometimes you won't stop if nobody's watching you.
Let's talk about that. You're talking about, we haven't covered it yet, but the benefits. Like, let's say I was diagnosed as low on the low range and I started taking it. 'Cause I know a few guys that are older and they've taken it and they say they get more oomph, they get
Mm.
more energy. Like, what is normal for someone who hasn't taken anything and then starts taking it? Like, is it just more energy, or is it more instant strength? What is to be expected in your opinion?
I think for like a typical guy working out in his 30s and his 40s, it just makes sense once you get on something. Because when you're not taking anything, your natural testosterone is not enough anymore. And you're not in your 20s anymore and you're not young. And you just have the energy or the will to work out is not there anymore. It doesn't make sense anymore. The return on time you're getting from the gym that you used to get, it's not there anymore. And maybe you don't see a result and you've been doing it for 5, 10 years and you're just like, what the fuck? Right. So, definitely that oomph that people talk about, or like just looking jacked and veiny and vascular and having strength and endurance and be able to do it day in and day out because the recovery is so much better. That is what you do it for, what you risk it all for. It There's side effects, of course, but that is like, you tell a guy that you go into the gym, you start looking jacked for the first time in your life. Good luck getting him off of it.
So the benefit is more return for per gym visit, more more results for the effort.
Yeah, it starts making sense. Like you start seeing why people, okay, now with this new foundation of stuff in me, now maybe I'll diet a little harder and I'll do a little more cardio and I'll stay on it a little more, and everything starts working better. And the stuff you saw in magazines and online start making sense. Like now these programs are working all of a sudden because I have the foundation of the muscle to actually show results. Me personally, right now, working out on less than TRT dosage, it sucks. It's not the same.
Can you notice a difference in one, in how you feel, and two, how your brain feels?
Yeah, yeah. Right now, I would say mental clarity is there. I don't feel like a fog, or I don't feel any. Um, I'm not an aggressive guy in general, but there are moments where it just happens, and it just in a blink of an eye you could be upset, and it's definitely exacerbated on testosterone.
Hmm.
There's guys that are just aggressive in general overall, and they'll get mad for anything, and it's way worse once you're on testosterone. There's guys that I work with that are in charge of big companies or big businesses, and they go off on people, and then you have to tell them like, hey, you're dieting, you're on stuff, like even though we're monitoring it with a doctor, like you still got to be careful on your everyday because you could snap on somebody verbally or aggressively more than you would normally. So mental is a big thing, uh, but you're not going to stop. I tell everyone, if you're not on it by now and you don't really need to, just don't get on it, because unless you're okay to take it for the rest of your life, because you will not stop. You can tell yourself you will, but you won't. I haven't seen one guy stop since.
That's another question I have. So, like, what happens if you stop? You're almost saying it's psychologically addictive. Like, you don't want to
Yeah,
be off of it because a
you
lot of
lose
reasons.
your whatever is to you. You lose that. You have energy, you have desire, you have, not only in the gym but also like you want to work, you want to get stuff
Hmm.
done, you want to better your situation because you feel like you can. You don't always have that when you're on low testosterone, and I think it's there's many factors why testosterone drops, not just age. but it definitely is. I can get more stuff done on a certain amount of testosterone versus like when I'm not.
1,000%. I was not expecting that. So you're saying it's almost like a motivational supplement or almost a nootropic.
Indirectly. You're not going to have more energy like a cup of coffee or whatever by taking testosterone, but everything's functioning better because if we run on testosterone, even women have a small amount of testosterone. Everything just makes more sense. You have more desire, more vigor for the probably the most common used word to do stuff.
Crazy. Was not expecting that angle. So that's something I'll be thinking about. All right. I think one of my last major questions that we haven't covered is what about natural testosterone boosters? Have you heard any positive results with natural boosters? Have you tried any? And I can name a few. Like um, I asked AI a few times.
Estafrin, Tribulus, all those other.
Well, like
I'm sure they have
uh,
new ones now.
Grok is saying like ashwagandha, D-aspartic acid, something called Tongkat Ali, in addition to natural stuff that you should be eating like eggs, fats, magnesium, zinc. Do you have an opinion on any of those? Like, I
Crap.
would
Yeah.
imagine you want to eat well, period, right? Like, you're
So
you're one of the first guys that told me about eating fats. Like specifically, don't miss out on the fats.
so first, I mean, there's many questions I need to answer there. So natural testosterone, crap. Like it's not what you're looking for. You're afraid of a needle. Just take the needle. Um, I was, I'm the one that was selling testosterone supplements. They were like 60, $80 at Max Muscle when I used to work there. And they were, upselling them from $20 a bottle versus you can get a vial of testosterone that'll last you months for 80 to $100. It's just cheaper. And it's actually safer because once it's an injection, it doesn't bypass the liver. So it's not toxic to your liver. Um, so that's my take on natural testosterone. And there's also just low hanging fruit before you just get into these things. Like, don't waste your time on testosterone or any supplement before you get 8 hours of sleep. You're
Mm.
getting sunlight first thing in the morning. You're eating a healthy diet, like you talked about the fats. Those are just easy ones that don't cost anything. You just got to like get started on that. You're not gonna eat Oreos and sleep on 4 hours and all of a sudden look jacked up testosterone. You're just gonna waste your time and hurt yourself even more.
I like that a lot. I think I was having a rough week. I had to grapple with a beast, and I know like my eating was off, my energy was off. I was already tired, and it was hard to beat the guy. And that's what made me very interested in like, getting superpowers magically. But doing the easy stuff, eating right, sleeping, I think it can boost your testosterone. Correct me if I'm wrong, like 25%. Like not doing the easy stuff can lower like sleep. Like sleep can drop your testosterone. Is that right?
Well, if I gave you a percentage, I'd be lying. I don't know what the percentages are, but I could tell you I mean, Alana's 11 months now, but when we were trying to have kids, the first thing I did was quality proteins, right? So grass-fed meats, omega-3 eggs, grass-fed butter, and then 8 hours of sleep. I dropped down my training to about 4 times a week because I wanted a low stress environment. I worked less. I got sun first thing in the morning. Did did everything that was just naturally done, and then I dropped my testosterone to just let my body naturally create its own as well. I went extreme. I kind of went a deep dive. I even changed all my underwears to cotton. I changed all my clothes from polyester to just cotton and silk and natural fibers. Um, you go as deep as you want to get into these things, but they all play a role.
Mm.
And then on top of that, once you start increasing your testosterone and just your overall hormone profile, it's a game changer. This is how you should live, and you won't go back after.
To doing the natural stuff, the basics, right? Is that what you mean?
To just like treating your body like crap and not running it how it should be running.
Once you see the benefits, once you appreciate it,
Yeah.
you won't
Yeah.
poison
I
yourself.
mean, there's a every now and then we stay up late or we're watching a show or whatever, but for the most part, you check your boxes every day and you do what you have to do to run optimally once you know what it feels like.
Completely agree. Completely love that. Cool. Thank you. All right, Eddie. I think I'm out of questions for you. You gave me a lot to process. Thank you for doing this interview, and I'll see you hopefully on another one.
Yeah, no problem.
Jiu-Jitsu concepts.